Today we're going to try to debunk the myth that high efficiency washers use less energy. Now, I had a previous video on how much water they use, and it was certainly proven that the old school Whirlpool top load washer that your mother used to have certainly used less water than the high efficiency machine. So far we've debunked that one. Let's try this. The gentleman who has tested his HE washer is the same gentleman, Michael Gegsno, who was kind enough to send me this meter. This meter shows the current wattage draw, how many kilowatt hours, the voltage, and the amperage right there. Now, to make everything fair, we're going to reset the meter right here. Just hold that down using my patented reset tool. And now we're all set. So the first thing you'll notice in his video is his machine uses 0.7 watts on standby. That means just off, just sitting there. What does this have? It has a mechanical timer, and that means there's no soft on, soft off. This is like a Frankenstein style switch. It's either fucking on or fucking off. And right now it is completely fucking off. And as you can see by the meter, it is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 across the board. I have my machine set to the super wash cycle, 18 minutes. That includes a partial drain and refill. And we're ready to go. I have the machine loaded with 10 bath towels. Fabric softener and detergent is in, and we're ready to go. So we'll watch the meter there, and I'm going to pull the knob. And right now we're reading 6.5 watts, and that is for the hot water fill valve. That's 0.07 amps if anybody cares. His video, we were reading very similar voltage. This is at 116.3. I forget exactly what his was. I'll include a sped up version of that at the end of this video so you can see. So we're going to allow the machine to fill. This is set to a large load, so this is about the biggest, most energy this machine can use. And we're going to let that fill, and then we will see what happens when it washes. There are no tricks. Here is a power cord that comes down here, does a loopity-doo, and goes into the meter. Coming out of the meter is the cord for the washing machine, which runs back to it. I can unplug it for a moment, which won't impact the test. And you'll see it shuts off. And when I plug it back in, if I can do it with one hand, there we are. We're reading just where we were before. So there's no trickery involved. This is straight out of the meter based on the reading. The one other thing you'll notice is his meter measured watt hours. This measures kilowatt hours. So we're going to divide this number by 1,000, and that will give us watt hours. We are almost filled. The machine is going to start in a moment. I'm going to hang on the meter here so you can read it, and you'll see what it reads when it starts. Notice that the kilowatt hour meter has not read anything as of yet. This is just with the fill valve open. Okay, so we started about 1100 watts, and now we are hovering around 700 and something. It's going to vary. As you can tell, we're washing away. This is once again 10 bath towels. So this is about the heaviest load the machine is going to handle. Being that there's so much in here, it is working the machine pretty much as hard as I would ever push it. Pushing all these towels around. So we're going to let this run. It seems that we have 0.01 kilowatt hours. And we're going to let this wash. I'm going to come back as soon as this goes to do its drain, and we'll see the wattage on that, and then we will take a note and write down what the kilowatt hour reading is. And that way we can compare, because I don't know if it, in his video, it did a like a pre-wash like this. Okay, right now we're just seeing the timer running. Now it's started up for the drain. So you can see we're draining here, no problem. But it does concern me that so far we are probably going to be reading, there it is, 0.050. His was at 0.150. And being that this was the pre-wash, we're going to write that number down, and at the end we'll try discounting that from the total amount and see where we come in. Once again, the 2.8 watts you're seeing is just for the timer running. And now the fill valve is going to open in a moment, and then we'll see about 6.3 watts or something like that. It may read a little bit higher if the timer doesn't drop out immediately. And there it went. So you saw it was like about 9 watts, and then the timer dropped out, which was about 2.8. And there we are. So that was 0.051. So we're going to write that down and allow the machine to refill. Okay, we're just about filled. We have not moved from that 0.051. Any moment the machine will start. And there we are. So now that's washing away once again, and we'll go ahead and let it do its thing. Okay, we're now in low speed agitation, and you'll see the wattage draw has come down, but you'll also notice that that kilowatt hour number is slowly creeping up to that 150. Now again, I don't remember, I'd have to review his video in full, and I'll provide a full written report in the video description. That's why it's important to read those, folks. I know a lot of people don't know how to read anymore. Find an adult and they can read it to you. But they're very important to read. Remember that most people who write descriptive video descriptions don't write them for their health, but you should read them for yours. We've surpassed it, but all hope is not lost. Because remember, we did a pre-wash, and that used 0.051, so we can deduct that at the end, and then we'll compare numbers. Now we're going to drain the water out. So that just completed the full wash cycle, or agitation of the full wash, and now it's draining the tub, and then it's going to go to spin. So we're at about 447.5, let's say, safely, maybe even a bit less. Well, actually it's going down, because as the water level goes down, the pump doesn't have to work as hard, so it's actually going down further. The pump is running dry, and you can see the wattage has come down a bit. Okay, now it's going to go to spin. The wattage should decrease once it gets up to full speed, I believe. That is a full load of towels, and they're soaking wet, so it takes some juice to get that going. There you go. Now that it gets up to speed, look at that wattage drop down. The machine is refilling for rinse. We're using that same 6 point something watts as before. it's clear at this point that even if we subtract the amount that it used in the pre-wash, the high efficiency machine did win. But don't stop watching yet. Watch to the end, because there's some things you need to consider. Okay, now we're starting the rinse. There's our wattage reading right there. And we'll let this continue on. Okay, the machine is draining its rinse water now. I'll give you a wattage reading on that. Now it's doing its spin. And there's the wattage reading on that. Just getting up to speed. I'll show you once again the wattage reading once it's up to speed. You can hear the sound of the machine. Getting there now. Doing another spray rinse. And once that stops in about 10 seconds, it should give you the final. There you go. See, with all that water out of there, the wattage reading certainly goes down. Let's wait until this finishes now. Okay, it's almost finished. Here's the final watt reading. And you'll notice that now that it's stopped, the wattage reading is absolutely zero. Now, we did come in at 0.338 or 338 watt hours, and again, the high efficiency machine was 150 watt hours. Now, again, if we take off 51 watt hours from that, I'll, calculate everything and write it all down for you. We're still coming in certainly higher, considerably higher than the high efficiency machine. But even if we, make believe that's 0.351 and then take away the 0.51, we're looking at 300 compared to 150. So this did use twice the amount of electricity as an HE machine. However, there are a number of things that you need to consider. Okay, so here were the final numbers that we came up with. Okay, we used a total of 338 watt hours. And again, if we discount the 0.51, just to make math easy, we clearly used double the amount of electricity. But let's consider that even though the high efficiency machine used half the amount of electricity. That doesn't mean that the clothes came out as clean. In fact, they didn't come out anywhere near as clean, because high efficiency simply means poor performance. Now, if you're older, you may remember cars that had 6 or even 8-cylinder engines in them, and they were quite powerful, like the muscle cars of the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. You paid a price for gas. They were not very fuel efficient. But if you wanted to take off, damn did they ever. Absolutely. So you pay for performance. And that's the case, that's the case anywhere in life. If you want a high-powered computer or something like that for gaming and things like that, well, you're going to pay a lot more for it, and you're going to end up with a lot better performance. So you will always pay more for better performance. So right there, I think that's an important factor to consider, that if you want good performance, a vintage washer or an old school one, top loader like I had, is one thing. Let's also do some other math here and consider something else. Okay, so now the math gets a bit crazy. This is non-common core math. The high efficiency washer uses 0.7 watts on standby. That means plugged in, not washing. Now that 0.7 watts isn't going to go away when you turn it on. In fact, the wattage is only going to go up higher after that. So that's going to be a continuous draw of the machine throughout its entire year. Now, I calculated that after 1,428 hours, that's 999.6, which for our purposes is close enough to 1,000 watts, or 1 kilowatt. So that machine, after 1,428 hours, uses 1 kilowatt of electricity. Now, if we divide that by 24 hours in a day, that gives us 59 and a half days. So if we take 365 divided by 59.5, that gives us 6.13453, or 6.13 if we just round it off. So that's 6.13, or 6 kilowatts used per year, just plugged in. Your machine, your high efficiency machine, is using 6 kilowatt hours per year just being plugged in. The old school washer uses 0. Now, for all of that standby power that it uses, just so you can have those nice fancy buttons that you press, it works out like this. We take that number, 6134, and divide that by the kilowatt hours my machine used, which was 338. That means that for the standby power that the HE machine uses, I can do 18 and a half extra loads of laundry. That's how much that equates to. 18 and a half loads. So I don't think that's very high efficiency at all, because you're using all that extra power just for it to have buttons that you can press. This is a big number here. I mean, 18 loads of laundry that are free on the vintage machine compared to the high efficiency. So, while we didn't prove that the old school washer uses less electricity, in fact it uses double or even a little more than double, we did find that the HE washer wastes electricity just being plugged in. Now, yes, you can completely negate all of that by unplugging your washer each and every time you're done with laundry, but you know what? After all of that is said and done, you're going to forget. You're never going to remember to do it each time. In fact, my machines, my setup is set so there's a timer there, so even if I had high efficiency machines, they would automatically get the power to them cut after however long that timer is set for. So I wouldn't even have to pay all these extra kilowatt hours. So that's being smart about it, is what it is. This is called parasitic draw. And it's not just your washing machine, it's your big flat screen TV. You know, with that little red light that's always glowing on it when it's off? I never understood the point of that, because You know, if you had a power light on the machine, you'd think it would turn on when you turn the TV on. But no, it has to show a light saying, I have power, I'm ready for you to watch TV at any time, but that light glows while you're asleep. Who is looking at that red light while you're asleep? Nobody. And that is what's killing the planet. This parasitic draw of electricity. So these high-efficiency machines, you know, although we didn't prove with, you know, dead-on numbers of everything, we did prove that all these parasitic draws really do add up to a lot. That's something to think about, and I hope you do. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it's given you some insight into thinking twice about throwing out a perfectly good vintage machine that will give you excellent performance. Again, remember, that's like an old car. It was poor gas mileage, but damn did they go fast. You pay for performance, which is what I get, plus I don't have a parasitic draw. And I think that really wins the race. That's my personal opinion. Yours may differ. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you some insight into what's really going on behind the scenes. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.